So this is my data collection process for my web scraping project. In this case, I'm web scraping Wikipedia. And so what I want to do is I want to find the most influential Western philosophers. And so I figure I go to this Western philosophy page, and then I'm going to see which philosophers are mentioned and how many times they're mentioned. And then I'm going to web crawl Wikipedia. I'm going to follow these links here and try to find how many mentions each philosopher has across almost all of Wikipedia, specifically in the philosophy articles. So the first challenge that I have is actually creating a list of philosophers. So I will go to this webpage, Timeline of Western Philosophers. And what I would do is I would right click and then inspect in order to use Beautiful Soup to extract this data. But luckily it is arranged nicely enough so that I can just copy paste and put it in a text document. And so once I have this text document, I'm going to have to clean this data. There's some punctuation that I don't want. There's a lot of extra words. And so I am going to use regular expressions in order to clean this data up and then also to shorten it down to one word. And so I want the last name in most cases. Like, let's see. For example, I'm going to want the last name of, these are all Greek era philosophers. Like Niccolo Machiavelli, I'm going to want to extract Machiavelli from that. But then for the Greek era philosophers, for example, like Seneca the Younger, I'm going to want to extract Seneca instead of Younger. So once I have this list of philosophers and they're all going to be one name, I can actually work with it. So now what I want to do is I want to go through this Western philosophy page and count up how many times each philosopher is mentioned. And I will follow this link, like this main article, Ancient Greek Philosophy. I can right click and inspect. And then I will use Beautiful Soup in order to find that link and follow it. And so I will repeat the process when I'm on these first order web pages like Ancient Greek Philosophy. I will find the number of mentions for each philosopher, and then I can follow every link on this page as well, and then repeat the process. However, I'm going to want to assign weights. So I want philosophers that are mentioned on this main Western philosophy page I want mentions on this page to be worth more than if you have to click through links in order to find these mentions. And so once I create a weighted score for each philosopher, I'm going to use matplotlib in order to display the results. And so right here, you can see that a lot of the philosophers that I expected to be on the list, like Kant and Hegel, Socrates, and Plato, they are. And one thing that I was surprised about was James was the number one most influential philosopher, which I had hardly even heard of William James. But at first I thought it was definitely a mistake. There was no way, there had to be a bug in my program. But after looking through it, I realized that James is an American philosopher and Wikipedia is a American-made company. And I was looking through my list here, like I could only find James Mill and William James, and James Mill is not a very well known philosopher. His Wikipedia page is quite short, and so I decided that it was definitely William James who was being referenced in this data collection process. And I think that he was referenced that many times. I don't think it was a bug in the system, because Pierce, also a philosopher that I hardly even heard of, and he was in the top 10. And so I think that this just really shows the bias that the internet has towards American historical figures. And I also went ahead and included nationalities because I thought it was interesting. And so it'll pop up in a second. As you can see, majority of philosophers are Greek or German. There were 2 American philosophers and 1 British philosopher, and this is exactly what I expected. I expected to see a lot of Greece, a lot of Germany, and I was mildly surprised that there was that many American philosophers, but again, it makes sense when you consider that Wikipedia is an American-made website. It makes sense that American-made philosophers are going to be more represented than they should be. And yeah, that's my data collection process. This is part 1.